Hey everybody, it's Bruno and welcome to MB. Click on the subscribe button below here and you'll never miss an episode. And also you can follow us on LinkedIn and on Facebook on MegaPixx Media. Enjoy the episode.
That's right. What's up, you sucker? That's right. What's up, you sucker? What you looking at?
Again, it's Bruno on MB where it can't all be serious. I got my good friend Jackie Rainforth, and this is what I like to do with you, Jackie. Let's get right to it. You like
Okay, let's get to it.
Yeah, there's no like tossing the ball around. We're throwing hard. It says there are 3 top business tips. Now we're not basically how to grow your business, I guess, but 3 top business tips. You've been in business for a while for yourself, and you're surrounded by that. Let's start with what's number 1.
Know your numbers.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, know your numbers. It's the same for salespeople, right? You need to know your numbers. You need to know what you're generating so that you know what your income is coming in. You need to be on top of that always. Always.
So that's number 1. Number 2.
Cash flow. Watch your expenses. Yeah, cash flow is huge. You don't have cash. That's where people think that revenue is the same as cash flow, and it's not. Revenue is money that's coming in, but you haven't taken your expenses out of there. Cash flow is how much money is sitting in the bank after those expenses are paid. And so that's why cash flow is absolutely critical. When you look at businesses that go under, it's because of a lack of cash flow more times than not.
And you know, we're going to touch on all 3 of them.
Okay.
Because we're going to kind of build it differently. So you got to really watch this whole video because we're going to build this a little differently, because a lot of people will say, okay, Jackie, great. I need cash flow. I don't have it. Okay, great.
Well,
you know, I'll just go to the government and have another handout or something like that. That's not real business people. Those are, I always say, those are grant collectors. So as opposed to business people, but we're talking real business, like in good, bad times, it's always lather, rinse, repeat process. I guess, you know, we'll get to the 3rd one in a second, but how important is selling in your organization?
Selling's everything. If you don't have someone selling, like, you know, when it's funny because people think, oh, salespeople, what do? They just go for lunch and they hang out on the golf course and they don't do anything. My mother-in-law asked me, she goes, oh, you know, you're so lucky. All you get to do is have fun all day. And I said, you know, I was frustrated because I said, listen, do you know what it's like? Have you ever been to a Christmas party and you walk into the Christmas party and you don't know anybody there? How does that make you feel? And she goes, oh, yeah. And I said, well, that's what it's like for salespeople every day. They're going in and that's what they're doing is, you know, it's not all fun and games. There's a lot of work behind it. People don't see that. And there's the stereotype that, you know, it's play and no fun. If you don't have revenue coming in, you do not have a business, period. You can be great. You can have the best product. You can, I mean, you know, everything else can be aligned. But if you do not have revenue coming in from your salespeople, you will not survive. Nobody else is required because there will not be a business. Sales and selling is absolutely the number 1 thing that you need in a business.
Well, you know, you brought up a really good point with your mother-in-law. Always trust your mother-in-law. Is that you walk into a place, right? And you're in a sales environment, not like just a wedding shower or something like that. But you walk in and there's business to be had there. I believe that a really good salesperson, you can correct me if I'm wrong, this is kind of my belief, but you can correct me. In that room, let's say there's a room full of buyers and a couple of sellers, right? You got to be like the guys that are the people that are buying can kind of be in and out in their company. You know, they're kind of like, yeah, it's a good job and I got a raise. The people coming in there and selling the big ticket items, they got to be full of confidence and belief in their product, because you can't go to that ball and pretend.
No. And that's the thing with, purchasers, hey, that's all they do all day long is deal with salespeople. So you have to be good. I remember a guy once, Dave Banger, love him. He, you know, he made time for me. I was young and he made time for me. He said, Jackie, I get 50 calls a day from salespeople.
Mhm.
And I said, well, what makes you decide who you're going to see? He goes, I reserve my time for those that I feel are doing the best. They
Mhm.
know their stuff. They're, they're good people coming in, and, they've got good products. That's what I reserve my time for. And I'm like, wow. Like I never realized that these guys can have, 50, 100 calls. Like the average person gets 121 email a day. Can you imagine what a purchasing agent gets?
Yeah.
Like, and let's face it, they are evaluating you and comparing you to every other rep that's there. There's a hierarchy, and they're like, they can pick and choose.
Oh,
It's
sure.
supply and demand. Supply and demand. Lots of
Oh,
supply.
yeah.
Right?
Just like you can tell me a lot of stories. I can tell you tons of stories about walking in, walking out of those places with an RFP and being the smallest company in there because I own my own company. And you walk out there, and I'll throw this out if you want to. Can I share this with you? After a while, you end up doing it because you want to do it, and you can do anything else. Once you figure out you could have gone to work for XYZ company or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And the purchasers will see you and they kind of go, hey, that was a good presentation, knowing full well I didn't win because, the IBMs of the world would win just by default because they had, better box seats at the game. Let's not fool ourselves, right?
No.
I mean, right?
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah, swag isn't as important as it used to be, but yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
come on. Like, I'm just telling you, it's always important. And all I'm saying is, and it's no, I'm not crying, sour.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
I'm saying that their bling and their ding was way bigger, right? And a lot of people say, you know what, they always go with the sure shot. Well, they're saving their jobs too. So it's a lot riskier to go to Jackie and Bruno's place than it is to go to IBM. Because now if IBM fails, they're going to say, well, it was IBM, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
And to your point of that guy giving you a shot as a younger person, that's a lot of trust that they're putting in you.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that I'll never forget the first time I said this because I actually meant it. It was one of those contracts I really wanted. But you know what? Life's not going to kill me if I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And the person came out to me afterwards and goes, hey, that was a really good presentation and this and that and the other thing. I said, no, I appreciate it. And knowing full well I didn't get it. And they said, you know what? Can I ask you a question? What makes you so different than IBM or whatever, right? And it was the first time I said it, and I started believing it, and it's not a lie. I just said, because I want to do it, and I don't really need it. Like, I actually want to save Gotham City, not that I have to.
Yes.
Like Bruce Wayne doesn't need to do this. Like, I can go and do something else right now, and I just spent 2 weeks putting the proposal together, kind of feeling that I'm not going to get. And you know what? We became a subcontractor. I'll never forget that.
Oh.
And he said, I had never heard that answer before, but you better be able to back it up because we actually didn't. We always need business.
Mm-hmm.
My point was, I don't need the aggravation to come in 16th.
Right.
So the difference between me doing it and somebody else doing it is because we want to do it.
Yeah.
We want to be part of this. And the guy believed in us. Now, we didn't become the primary vendor, but
right.
And that's
still, you got a piece of the pie, and that's revenue coming through the door, and that's really important.
I don't think you can teach passion, can you, in sales?
No, it's funny when I talk about confidence, the one thing I always start off with is, why do you do what you do?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing it? Because, everyone knows that selling is like a roller coaster. And there are those times where you're going to be in the low. It's your why that's going to pull you out of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? If your why is, making a better life for your family, or if your why is, this is what you've always dreamt of doing, whatever your why is, it's so important because when you hit those lows, that why is the only thing. Your passion, your love for selling is what's going to pull you back out.
And a lot of things you're saying really resonate because a lot of people have come to me in the past and said, what's this and what's that and what's passion, and there's certain things you can't teach. It can just only emulate you and believe in you. But what I really liked, you're talking about suppliers, is that it's really, 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 really cool, right? When a supplier comes up to you, a supply chain person comes up to you, or, a buyer, and go, oh my God, I promised you this one, but we lost the budget. I can't believe, I'm so sorry. But you know what? Let me find you something else. And they're digging for stuff for you. Right. And I just think that's amazing because now I owe them the courtesy to be loyal to them too.
Yes.
And the most surprising ones are the ones that, I mean, obviously it's kind of rhetorical, but you don't expect it. Like they're hard-nosed people, and then they kind of go, "Come here for a second,
Yeah.
it sucks, man. Like you're not going to believe this, but we're not going to have this forbid." But isn't that when you really realize you built a relationship?
Yeah, and I think a lot of times we don't really know. We have an inkling of what people think of us, but sometimes we don't. A lot of times we don't, and the impact that we're making on people just being us. Sometimes we just don't know.
Yeah.
I had a client. I'm doing a big speaking gig, and the client said, "We could be friends. I just love talking to you. I left my call till the end of the day just so we could have lots of time."
Yeah.
And I
Isn't that
thought,
great?
wow, like it gives me shivers, like it's like it's hard. It really is.
Early on, in kind of call it my sales career if you want, because part of running your business is 99% sales.
Mhm.
Um, Somebody said to me that actually somebody from back home, an older fellow, he said, "Be careful what you say because somebody might believe you."
Mm.
Right? And that's always stuck with me because you never know. You might go, "Hey, I'll get you this for $10," and that guy goes and tells his boss. His boss gets all excited. Now it's $13, and the guy loses his job.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
But be careful because as much as like you use the roller blinds, the Hunter Douglas lady,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Be careful what you say. Somebody's going to believe you, right?
Yeah.
And in terms of your program, do you go through some of those things? Like I know that it's customized in your training, but walk us through a couple of things that make you different in terms of maybe showing the passion, the process, and how you take all that stuff and put it together.
How do I? Well, first of all, I think the biggest difference is that I've been there and I've done it.
Yeah.
I know the good and the bad, the ugly, and I'm truly, I think there's lots of things that I do differently, but I think passion does have a lot to do with it. It really does. And I just have a way of looking at the making things simple and the little nuggets and telling stories that resonate with people. People will remember the stories, but they won't remember all the stuff you teach them, right? But they do remember the stories. And I think that's a really great way of well, I know it is. Well, it's a great way of helping people learn because they do learn from stories. And I have lots and lots of stories, as do you, because you've been there and you've done it. It's not about, oh, I've read a book and now I'm an expert, or, what did they say? Those who can't sell teach, or whatever, or those who can't do teach, or whatever.
This goes out to all my friends, and they know I'm joking. The saying is, those who can't do teach, those who can't teach gym. Okay.
Oh.
That came from a gym teacher. So I just love, I can even quote him, but that was so funny. But okay, magically we forgot to say, well, we left the third top business tip for the end. So numero tres.
Well, and I'm thinking from business point of view, right?
Business.
And I got this from this man. I always ask that question, all of my customers. And, because I believe that there's so much learning that you can get from other people. And I've gotten some phenomenal feedback from people. And one of the great pieces, Joe Ferrero from Calbridge Homes, he said to me, "Get money when times are good, because when times are bad, it'll all dry up."
Yeah.
And so true. If you've never been in business, or, you walk in really naive thinking, "Oh, the bank will just give me money." No, they won't. So it's important to, kind of make sure that you've got that comfort zone for your business.
Especially if you're business on your own, like if it's your business, you better put away the nuts for winter, boy.
Oh yeah.
It's a tough gig. But speaking of which, we're going to give away one of your books. I said this a couple times, but click down here. Make sure to visit Jackie's website. Her training programs, contact her directly because you customize a lot of stuff. I think that's what makes sense. really
Yeah,
good.
I customize it. Oh, sorry, Bruno. I didn't. And I do incremental and accountability learning. So I
Beautiful.
know that there are different ways to learn. So I break it down. You learn a task, you go out into the field, you do it. You have challenges. When we meet again the next week or 2 weeks, we go through the challenges. You know, the team talks about it, and I make people accountable in terms of their actions, and I give homework.
Oh,
My job, besides teaching everyone how to be better sellers, to be more effective in selling, is to make sure that the company who's invested, and this is corporate, not entrepreneurial, but if the company is investing in me, they need results, they need revenue, and they need a return on investment on their learning dollar. And I make sure that those three things happen, because that's that incremental learning. It really makes a difference.
and you know what? If I may add,
Mm-hmm.
some of your programs may be eligible for government grants,
Alberta Job Grant. Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
How awesome is that?
Well, it's great for privately owned companies. It doesn't work for corporations, and it doesn't work for the owners or family members.
Right.
So that kind of
But
knocks
still,
but it does work for those companies that are looking to grow. And I think, selling people, when times get tough, it's the first thing that goes is, the training budget. But really, I've never been busier. I've never been busier, because people realize that selling is absolutely critical to a company. If you don't have that revenue coming in, and if your people aren't trained well and they're not following on the process, they're going to lose opportunities, and we can't afford to lose opportunities. It takes 5 to 25 times more to get a new client. You want to make sure the client you have, that you're serving them well and that you're doing a great job, and they become loyal, dedicated, long-term referral people for you, right? That they're referring you to everybody out there because they're happy with what you do.
you know what? Click underneath, because I think you can walk them through a couple of the details if you qualify or not, as best as you can. But I think that's a huge opportunity, notwithstanding that you have, award-winning programs and stuff like that. So yeah, and put your name down. We're gonna draw for a book. So yeah, those are great three top business tips. Thank you, Jackie. Well, you know what? That's pretty much all the time we have for this episode today. Thank you for tuning in with us. And you know what? Make sure you subscribe to our MegaPixx media channel so you will never miss an episode. And also, you can follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram. We have content almost every day. So thank you very much for joining us. I'll see you guys soon.